Hello Year 8, I hope you're all okay. Almost at the end of term, just 2 more weeks of these video lessons. This is our second one looking at the actual text of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So we are at the palace of Theseus. Theseus is getting married to Hippolyta, and that is taking place in 4 days. Can't wait. However, we are with Lysander and Demetrius, and Aegeus, Hermia's father, has bought Hermia because he is furious with her, with Lysander, and he blames Lysander for tricking her. And of course, Aegeus wants her to marry Demetrius. So Aegeus has bought all of them, Hermia and Demetrius, to see Theseus because he has the power to force people he's like the emperor, so he has the power to get married or to punish her if she doesn't. So we're at the top here. Aegeus has just explained why he has come to see Theseus, so Theseus knows the situation now, and says, "What say you, Hermia? So what is it your father's told me, or what have you got to say? Be advised, fair, your father should be as a god, so your father should be like a god to you." Sorry about this, girls, but in those days, then women literally legally were the property of men. Until you got married, you were the property. Sorry about that. Imposed your beauties, yea, and won you wax. So Theseus says it's your father that made you beautiful, because he created you, and to one you are but as a form in wax. So without him you're just a form in wax, and you're just like a waxwork model, and it's him that made you, and that's what he goes into, by him imprinted and was within his power. So the comparison here is that Hermia is basically just a waxwork model created as her father wished. So it's the idea that the father has total over Hermia. And here is described to league it or disfigure it. So it is up to Aegeus what happens to Hermia, and he can even disfigure if he wants. And then Theseus says Demetrius is a worthy gentleman, respectful. A quick word on marriage in those days. Essential to secure a good marriage for his daughter. If, like Aegeus, you were kind of well powerful, then you needed to make sure that your daughter married a wealthy, powerful man. Otherwise, you could lose all of that, because your wealth and your power would go to the man that the daughter married, not the actual daughter, because the daughter rights at all. Hermia, a bit sassy. So Theseus says, Demetrius is a fine gentleman. Hermia said, so is Lysander. So she's standing up to Theseus. Theseus agrees, yes, in himself he's fine. This kind, wanting your father's voice, the other. So yes, Lysander is fine, but your father thinks Demetrius is finer, and it's him you must listen to. Hermia said, I would my father looked but with my eyes. So Hermia is saying, I wish my father sees Lysander as I see him, or I wish he shared my point of view. And Theseus said, Father, your eye must with his judgment look. She says, no, your father doesn't need to see your point of view. You need to see your father's point of view, and a complete authority of the father. Her realizes she's got a little bit too cheeky for somebody much power as Theseus. So I do entreat your, I know not by what power I am made bold. So please forgive me. I'm being a little bit rude, a little bit cheeky, a little bit assertive, nor how it may concern my modesty in such a present please my thoughts. So I don't know why I am being a bit bossy to somebody so powerful such as yourself, Theseus. Excuse me. But I beseech you, a girl speaking to Theseus, that I may know the worst that befall me in this case if I refuse to wed Demetrius. So she's asking Theseus here, what is the worst thing that could happen to me if I do refuse to wed? And Theseus replies, I to die the death. That's fairly clear, isn't it? You will die, or abjure forever the society of men. So that means to abjure means to go without. So you will never spend any time with men. To ensure that she never spends any time with men, to a convent, which he threatens in a minute. Therefore, fair Hermia, question your desires, know of your youth, examine your blood. So this is her. Theseus is saying this. Look, this is your final chance. Think this through. Is this what you really want? Whether if you excuse me, whether if you yield not to your father's choice, you can endure the livery of a nun. So those two lines, if you don't do what your father's telling you, could you actually live the life of a nun? And then the next two lines go on to describe exactly what the life of a nun would like. For I to be in shady cloister mewed. The cloister is the kind of building that she'd have to stay in. So he's basically saying you'd be a prisoner in a lonely place, and to live a barren sister all your life. There is she would stay a virgin for the remainder of her life, chanting hymns to the cold fruitless moon. Thrice blessed they that master sow their blood. So the symbol of a moon comes up again here. So he's saying you will have nothing to do. You'll just be singing to some sad old moon. That's the only company you will have. Thrice blessed they that master sow their blood, to undergo such maiden pilgrimage. So here Theseus is saying nuns are those who stay virgins. Nuns are truly blessed, thrice blessed here. That they master sow their blood, that basically that control their desires, to undergo such maiden pilgrimage. So here he's saying nuns are blessed, but only in heaven do they get their reward. And then in contrast, Theseus says, but earthlier happy is the rose distilled than that which withering on the virgin thorn grows, lives and dies in single blessedness. So this line here, this is an analogy. In literature, an analogy is a comparison. So Shakespeare, or Theseus, is comparing Hermia's options to a rose, basically. And he says, if you become a nun, you will wither and die on the so you're saying you're like a rose flower. Excuse me, I need to get some water. You're like a rose flower that will die whilst on the plant. So that's the analogy with a nun. However, he's saying if you choose to do what you are told, you will be a rose that grows and lives and dies in happiness. You will be you will reach your potential. You will live a beautiful and happy life. So be a nun and die unhappy, or get married and live a blessed, happy life. And he uses a rose to make that analogy, that comparison between her two choices. So three questions on this page, please. Listen to the question. If you need to go through the text again, do so. Pause after the question and write down the answer. For question number one, there is another analogy. I should have pointed it out at the start of this page. Theseus compares Hermia to what in order to show the power a father has over a daughter? So what is she compared to show the power that Aegeus has over her? Number two, what question does Hermia ask Theseus? And number three, How does Theseus use a rose to compare a married woman with a nun? What happens to the nun and what happens to the married woman in the rose analogy? An analogy is a comparison. Okay, pause the video. Write down your answers in those lovely full sentences. And we're on to the next page. Are we? Yeah. I just have to swap my notes over using my trusty pink mini clothes peg. Hermia, still sassy after being given that challenge. So be like the rose, don't die on the vine, don't become a nun, don't die unhappy. It says, so I will grow, so live, so die, my lord, ere I will my virgin patent up unto his lordship, whose unwished yoke my soul consents not to give sovereignty. Complicated 4 lines here. So she's saying, so will I grow, so live, so die, my lord. So she's choosing the option of death. She's saying she would rather, and here will I my virgin patent up unto his lordship. She is referring to Demetrius there. She's saying, I will not give my virginity up to somebody I do not love. Theseus very patiently says, take time to pause, and by the next new moon, which remember is in 4 days because that coincides with their wedding, the sealing day betwixt my love and me. So he's talking about his marriage to Hippolyta there. So in 4 days, Hippolyta and me will get married, and that's when I want you to make your decision. And here's her choice. Upon that day, either prepare to die for disobedience to your father's will, or else to wed Demetrius. So in 4 days' time, if you don't make your choice, prepare to die or wed Demetrius, which is really nice, isn't it? So he's going to have her killed on his wedding day. Or the third choice, remember, is as he would, or on Diana's altar to protest for austerity and single life. Diana was the goddess of the moon, and if you remember, Theseus is saying if you do become a nun, all you will have to do for company is to sing to the moon at night. So here he's saying, he's just reminding them that the final option is to become a nun, and as he puts it there, single life. And then we hear from Demetrius, the man her father wants her to marry. Relent, sweet Hermia, which means give in. And Lysander, yield thy crazed title to my certain right. So yield, gives in. So please give in, Hermia, and Lysander, please give in your claim on Hermia. Allow me to have my the right to marry her. Lysander replies, you have her father's love, Demetrius, let me have Hermia's. Do you marry him? So Lysander is saying, look, Demetrius, Hermia's father loves you, but Hermia loves me. You can't marry the father, and he's the one that loves you, not her. Aegeus, getting a bit annoyed, scornful Lysander, because Lysander's a bit cheeky there, basically he's saying. It's only the father who loves you, the daughter's in love with me. True, he hath my love, and what is mine, my love shall render him. So yes, I do love him, I do respect him, and what is mine is his. And she is mine, and all my right of her I do estate unto Demetrius. So I do love Demetrius, and everything that I own will be his. Remember what I said about the legal status of women. Their father's possessions, their father's wealth would be passed on to the husband. So that's what he's saying here. I do all my, and all my right of her I do estate unto Demetrius. So he will have Hermia and everything I own. Lysander replies, I am my lord, as well derived as he, as well possessed. My love is more than his. So this is about status. Lysander is saying, but I am of the same status as Demetrius. I am just as worthy. I have just as many possessions. I am just as wealthy. And yet my love is more than his. I love Hermia more than Demetrius does. Where's that gone? Oh, it's so annoying, this. My fortunes every way is fairly ranked, if not with vantage, as Demetrius is. So I am just as wealthy as Demetrius. And which is more than all these boasts can be, I am beloved of beauteous Hermia. So he's saying, I love her more than Demetrius. Why should I then not prosecute my right? So why should I not marry her? And then he gets a bit sneaky, a bit of a snake. Demetrius, I'll avouch it to his head. So Demetrius, I'm not afraid to say in front of him, made love to Nidar's daughter. That means Nidar's daughter Helena. That means he romanced, he wooed, he chatted up. He made another woman fall in love with him. Helena. And he chooses this sneaky moment, Lysander, to say, well, you're accusing me of making Hermia fall in love with me, but Demetrius has done exactly the same to this woman Helena, implying that he too can't be trusted, and won her soul. And she, sweet lady, devoutly dotes in idolatry upon this spotted and inconstant man. Lysander is saying, once the thingy gets there, that this woman, Helena, this girl, Helena, who Demetrius made fall in love with him, still is in love with him, and still is inconsolable that he now has fallen in love with, or fallen in love with Hermia, and plans to be married to Hermia. So, quite a, well, I don't know what you lot would say, quite a big one to drop in at the end there. A big surprise. It's the duh. Right, 3 questions on this page, please. How long does Theseus give Hermia to decide what to do? Number 2. Why does Lysander say, or what reasons does Lysander give for saying he is equally as entitled to marry Hermia? He also deserves to marry Hermia. He gives a few reasons. See how many you can write down. And finally, what dirty, sly secret does Lysander reveal about Demetrius that a gentleman just wouldn't have done? Okay, write down the answers, please, in full sentences. Email them to me. And I will speak to you again next week for the last time on these video lessons. Have a great week and speak to you soon. Bye.